Hey guys, it's Spaces Sims, and we are back with more Paradigm Paradox, continuing Mihaya's route. Can I just tell you, the theme song for this game is so fucking good! So good! And you can't find it anywhere. Like, there's no soundtrack out there for this game. There's you can't find it, it's not on Amazon. Because it's 8p, it's impossible to look them up. You can't find it. I'm just come the frick on. It's so good. Anyway, so that's my plight for the day. I began helping Mihaya the next day. The two of us would meet regularly right after school. However, we weren't able to get together when one of us had to go on patrol, so we weren't able to make as much progress as we hoped. Also, I have to say, the weird thing about this game is I was like, okay, well, usually they have the theme song and the end credit or whatever. It's nowhere in the options. There's the base game music, the background music, that's in there. You can go in there, but the theme song, not in there. Where is it? Why would you not have the opening theme? Which is really weird because it's got a sound setting for movies, which would be usually the opening theme and the end credits and whatever. Not anywhere in the menu where you can just go and watch them again. Which is really fucking an odd choice. Okay, is an odd choice, because maybe I just want to throw this fucking up. Maybe I want to, you have to reboot the game. I think if you sit there long enough on the screen, the song should come back on, but I waited for forever, and I was like, no, so I had to, close the game and reopen it just to listen to it again, and I'm like, that's annoying. That's annoying. So you know what, game, for that, negative point for that, because, that opening song is a fucking banger. It is amazing. It is so fucking good. I just want to listen to it on repeat, and I can't. You won't let me. It's rude. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, that continued for a while, and after a few days, we're going to try and find clues about his parents' work today. We planned to meet at the library. Soon after I arrived, I heard Mihaya call out to me. Hey, Spacey, over here. You got here fast. My class is closer to the library. Anyway, let's get going. To where? I thought we were doing research here. I already got the info I needed. I looked and saw Mihaya was clutching a few books in his arms. We can't talk while we're researching here, so I figured we'd borrow the books and go somewhere else. Yeah, I guess we'd bother everyone here. As Mihaya pointed out, the library really wasn't the ideal place to brainstorm. Come on, I know a good place. Mihaya led the way as we both quietly headed out of the library. Here we are. An empty classroom? I already got permission from a teacher, so you don't have to worry about that. It's not too far from the library, so we can go and borrow stuff as we need. And pretty convenient, don't you think? And since it's empty, there won't be other people bothering us. I didn't even consider all that. You really thought things through, haven't you? You even got permission from a teacher. I was impressed by his preparedness, but Mihaya just frowned slightly. If you're gonna say that, then I can say you're amazing for going along with this. Or rather, I'm grateful to you. You blocked out all this time after school to help me. Thank you for that. No thanks necessary. I'm doing this because I want to. Besides, I got nothing else going on anyway, and I really desperately want you to find the joy in life so you don't feel the survivor guilt and you don't want to jump off a bridge. You know? Or walk out into the abyss. I'm just saying. We're just going to keep that part to ourselves, though. Anyway, let's get to work. What'd you check out from the library? It felt strange to be thanked for something I'd offered to do myself, so I changed the subject. Touching the birdie. Oh, and then you got mad. I knew you were going to get mad, but I touched you while I could. You were preening yourself, and I touched your body. I touched you. Oh, I'm touching your beak. Oh, you're such a jerk. We just had a conversation earlier about what a good boy you are, and how I lucked out to get such a good, sweet birdie, even though sometimes you're a big fat jerk face. I know. Sometimes you are a big fat jerk face, but I was very lucky that you were the birdie that I got when I got a birdie. Because I could have gotten a loud bird. You are loud, but you're not that bad. You could have just done nothing but scream all the time. You could have been a troublemaker getting into shit. You learned very fast to wear not two poopies. You're not perfect. But like 99% of the time, you're a good boy.
You poop where you're supposed to. You don't poop on people's.
Most of the time, again.
And you's quiet. You's very snuggly and cuddly and adorables. She's very well behaved.
Now he's like, too busy preening. Don't talk to me. Anyway. Here, sit down and I'll explain. I sat at the desk across from him as I thought it'd be easier for us to converse that way. Mihaya sat down and picked up a book. I mostly got reference material on the environment. Also, I checked out a couple of tablets for us. I didn't notice them until yesterday. You know, I think this is my favorite sprite of his. Not, like, because of the uniform change. Like, I'm fine with the jacket. It's, like, just his face. He's, like, kind of pretty in this one. Like, the other ones, like, again, we've got the puppet. We've got, like, kind of, like, the weird, like, Muppet puppet dude version. Like, everybody's got a Muppet puppet. Muppet/puppet version. And you're like, nah, don't do that. Okay. And then some of the other ones, he, like, kind of looks, like, he looks cute and it's too baby-faced. You know? But, like, this one's good. Because this one, he kind of just, he doesn't have the baby face right now. Like, he's just got like, your little prickly sourpuss pretty face. I like this sprite. Keep this one. Keep this one. This is your best. I figured they'd be useful because it'll be easier to search on this. And there's a ton of information online. My parents had been looking to the environment outside Theta, so I brought anything that might be related. Are we going to find out that the environment outside really isn't like that bad, or we could fix it or something, and then they're keeping us here for some reason? Or like it's gonna be like where we're like, oh, we're trapped here and the environment outside is awful, but the environment outside really isn't. It's only like in a little radius around outside, because then outside of that is we're like a science experiment, so scientists are watching us and we just don't know. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, we think we're, like, there's other colonies out there and whatever, but we can't, like, we might be able to talk to them, but maybe we don't. I don't know. But then if you go outside the environment and then, but it's like, it's really like you can't go because, like, we think the Theta is this little bubble, but it's inside a bigger bubble that has a treacherous environment. So just in case anybody got out, you know, they wouldn't be able to realize that it's like the Truman Show. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, we're like, he's just living in this little bubble world and no clue. But if you get to a certain point, you're like, ting, ting, ting. This is a wall. What the fuck? That's not the sky. You know what I mean? But like, in this case, it's like if they got outside of Theta, which is the bubble that they live in, you know, then, oh my God, they'd get poisoned and die because that's like a bigger bubble that's got poisonous gas and air inside, and then the rest of the world is normal outside, and this is just a giant science experiment. Like, that would be some fucked up shit. I don't know if they'd go that in depth with this. I'm pretty sure the world building is like, everything got destroyed, there's like bubble people. There's colonies all over, and the vectors are actually what people were, and something about the poisonous environment is what causes them to turn, and then, like, there you go, that's it. And it's not, like, a huge conspiracy that we are living in a science experiment and the rest of the world's actually normal, and we just think it's been destroyed because we're in a bubble inside of a bigger bubble. You know? We're in like a happy bubble inside a poison bubble, and the rest of the world's cool. Like, that would be awesome. I'm just saying. Because there would be, like, mysteries upon mysteries. But I don't think they'd go that in depth. But there you go. These look a bit complicated. This one here has photos, so maybe we'll be able to understand the points better. Because they're not teaching them about what happened, really. Which is odd. Instead of being like, yeah, there was a nuclear war and everything was destroyed, so now we live in bubbles or whatever, and the environment's extremely toxic, filled with poisons and chemicals, and that's why they don't tell them anything. They're like, yep, nope, we don't go outside. Anyway, you know what I mean? And they don't talk about the vectors. I can understand them not talking about the vectors because they don't want to freak out people that there are monsters out there that they may not know the cause of. Or the researchers know people become the vectors. We don't want to freak people out. You know what I mean? So I can kind of understand them hiding that. It's like the government hiding aliens. if you want to believe that theory. You know what I mean? That there are aliens and the government's hiding it. It's probably because we shouldn't know these. There are some things we are not equipped to understand. It's kind of okay if people don't tell you. I'm just saying. I'm not really sure people can handle aliens. I don't think people can barely handle foreigners. I don't think you can handle actual fucking aliens. You know what I'm saying? So like maybe it's better if it's a government conspiracy. You know what I mean? So they're like, so they could just be like, let's just not tell people because that'll freak them out. And it's probably better. Like they're making decisions and whether it's right or wrong, you know, but like it's concerning why they don't talk about and just be like, oh, it's poisonous. Everyone could die. It's just like, we don't go outside. You'll die. Anyway, done. And then that's it. They don't talk about the history behind it or anything. You know, it's really odd. And then also Mihaya's parents wanting to go out and then somehow they all ended up with faulty machinery. You know, that sounds like a conspiracy to try to kill them so they don't find out the truth type of a thing. Like, they're constantly bugging and they're doing research. So, like, yeah, let's just loan them equipment and it'll be faulty. And it'll be like, oh, golly gee darn it, what a terrible accident. But Mihaya survived and, like... And then maybe because he survived, they were like, inject him with the magical girl shit and see what happens. Because, like, if he dies, whatever, ain't no one gonna miss him. He's an orphan. And if he survives, then he's a magical girl, and he's in our pocket, and he has to do what we say, and that'll keep him in line, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, so, but like, what exactly are the researchers and the higher-ups and all these people, what are they actually hiding? Because why would they, like, I highly doubt, okay, maybe I'm reading too much into it, and maybe Mihaya's parents and everything it was actually just a fucked up accident. It seems too coincidental, you know what I mean? You know, I feel like there's more of a conspiracy going on behind it than we live in a fucked up world in a bubble because the world outside's awful and monsters, people turn into monsters somehow. We'll figure that out later. Okay, that's a later point. And then that's just it. And the higher-ups know about the monsters. They didn't want to tell us because people would freak out. I highly doubt that's like the base level. I highly doubt that's it. There's got to be other little pieces because otherwise it's like, but then why hide why the environment, what happened? Why hide what happened in the past? You know what I mean? It was like some shit happened and our world's crap. I feel like that's poor writing if you're just going to not explain what happened, you know? Like the characters not knowing leads you to think that, okay, there's a bigger conspiracy behind that. There's a reason why they didn't tell you. Why? Not, something bad things. Anyway, don't worry about that. That's not important. You know what I mean? Granted, some games do that, so, fair enough. But then also, like, Kamui's parents both died in a mysterious accident on their way to, like, the hospital. And it could have just been I don't know if they have cars in this world. Like, maybe they do. But, so, I mean, okay, fair enough. For him, oh, my parents were in a car accident dead. Okay, I mean, that shit happens. But Mihaya's parents, and then all three of them went out, and then they all had faulty equipment. That seems sus as fuck, you know what I'm saying? They're making it more suspicious as it goes. Like, Kamui's was already, like, a little sus, but, like, I guess it could happen. Okay, alright. You know, but your mother already had some kind of, like, magical disease that nobody else has, you know? So, like, what's the deal with that? So, anyway, I'm just saying, I feel like should be like way more conspiracy things, but we'll see if it pans out or if it makes any sense because I don't know if they're not doing a lot of world building really, if you think about it, because they didn't give us a lot of like character building with Lizzie. Obviously, because she was disposable to them. They do a decent amount of character building, at least with our love interests. Like, okay, we're friends, we hang out with them, and then we fall in love with them. Like, okay, sure. So, but I don't know how in-depth they went with, like, the plot line, really. You know? Since it is kind of like a quick hit game, I guess. Not the way I play it, obviously, but... That's an illustrated reference on the outside environment. And granted, it was in the Academy library, so I doubted it'd have info that would cause problems for the higher-ups. See, like, this is Puppet Face. Right. I skimmed through the book, but it just compares the past and present environment. It shows plants and animals that have gone extinct. Oh, but it also says that some of them are brought back at the Arboretum. I see. So it's illustrating how much technology has progressed in Theta. If so, then this one might be similar. Is that book written by a journalist? Yeah, it's an investigative report on incidents and accidents that have happened outside Theta. See, that's us. It was recently added to the library, so I haven't checked it out yet. I thought maybe it'd have something on my parents' accident. Wait, then let me look through it first. I thought it would be difficult for Mihaya to read about what happened to him, so I took the book and skimmed the table of contents. Okay, so the accident happened when you were 10 years old, so that would be 5 years ago. Okay, so we're probably 16 if he's 15. Then it should be in this section, and the other boys are probably 17 if they're older than us. I think Kamui was in our grade, right? Yeah, and the other two were older, so. The chapters were divided by date, so I found the right one and flipped through the pages. Like, see, here's the thing. Like, right now, he doesn't look 15. I mean, okay, yeah, fair enough. I mean, I guess kind of, because, like, if we're 16, he looks like the same age as the rest of the characters. But you know how sometimes you have characters and you're like, I'm 25, and it's like, you look 12. Right now, he's got a decent, normal-aged sprite. And then there's other ones where it's like, well, now you got baby face. I like this version better. You know what I mean? I don't know, he's just prettier here. Found it! I think it's this one, but there isn't much written about it. What does it say? And then this one would be okay if he didn't have the shadow thing given him puppet nose. I read through the text again to make sure nothing would be triggering for him before handing the book over. I do like he's got a little braid, though. It'd probably be faster to read it yourself. It's really only that small section. A journalist couple passed away due to an unfortunate accident while collecting information outside Theta. It remains unsafe outside. There's not much written here. I'm not even mentioned. Yeah, it looks that way. And it's still unsafe outside. They passed away in an accident. Yeah, but that sounds like, you know what I mean? Like, it seems suspicious that his parents both died in an accident. They both had faulty equipment. Well, okay, he said his mother's equipment malfunctioned, but I'm assuming his dad's did as well. And otherwise they wouldn't have all gotten sick. You know what I mean? Because people have to be able to go outside to check the outer wall, to check things, to make sure the wall's not cracking. Because what happens if all of a sudden the wall crumbles and then the air from outside gets inside? You gotta have people doing structural engineering outside, you know what I mean? So it stands to reason that, like, they were given faulty equipment. But then the person reporting on it, or in this quote-unquote journalist, right, was like, oh, they went outside and had an accident. Still not safe out there. Without really, like, that sounds like they're, like, puppets of the man. You know what I mean? like the higher-ups were like, yeah, we got journalists in our pocket who report the news that we want them to. It's not safe outside. People have died out there. True. But you're covering up the truth of, we gave them faulty equipment because they were a thorn in our side. That kind of, you know what I mean? I had some hopes for this one, but there's no real info. And the other reports just mention the typical stuff. There probably aren't many journalists who'd seek out this kind of information in the first place. The title claimed it was an expose on accidents outside Theta. What a total exaggeration. By the man. I know. I suppose this is a given, but there's no mention of vectors. So this journalist didn't go into the field either. See, like here, this like little sprite of his, this is like his little baby face sprite. Like this is where he actually looks 15, you know what I mean? He's like, look at he's so little and cute. And most of the sections just end with interviews from researchers who have gone outside Theta. It doesn't even begin to give us any clues on what we're looking for. How about trying the tablets? You brought them for us to use, after all. I pointed to the tablet in Mihaya's hand with the hope we might find something. All right, we'll start searching for newspaper articles. I was thinking we can look through articles from the past 10 years. I'll look for any that talk about environmental issues to see if they tie back to my parents' work. I couldn't get through all of them by myself, so I've only checked about 2 years' worth so far. 10 years' worth of articles was a tall order for just one person. Then let's split up the work. I'll mark down any articles that look interesting. Thanks. Then I'll start 10 years back and go forward, and you can start with the newest and go back. Sound good? Yep. You can count on me. We each picked up our own tablets and started searching for relevant articles. This is adorable. I'm not seeing much of interest. After about an hour, I still hadn't found anything. Mihaya looked up from his tablet. Same here. Even though we've got years of articles to look through, all the ones about the environment are similar. They don't discuss what's outside the colony. And most of them are about something we've created inside Theta that grew naturally in the past. That's what I'm running into, too. Hey, did your parents ever publish any books of their findings? Of course they did. I've already read all of them. So you didn't find any clues in them? Oh, well, I don't think I did. I see. Would it be okay if I read them too? Maybe you've read them so many times you actually overlooked something. I'm a fresh pair of eyes, so I might find something new. You have a point. But the books are in my dorm, so I'll have to go get them first. Doesn't the library have them? Mihaya looked doubtful, but took a moment to think about what books were at the library. I think they had some. Not all of them, but a few. Then I'll go get them. You can keep doing your research. Huh? I can go. I'll be right back. It was my suggestion. Mihaya shouldn't have to stop what he was doing for it. I stood and gestured for Mihaya to stay put as he started to get up and put on his jacket. I kept my momentum and bolted straight into the hallway right as someone familiar happened to pass by the classroom. Huh? Oh, hey. Oh, Kamui. Hello. Kamui and I barely ever spoke, so I simply nodded to him and tried to walk past. But he flashed me a friendly smile and continued talking. Don't try to hit on me, it's not your route, sweet cheeks. Isn't that classroom empty? What were you doing in there? Studying with friends? But it's not test season yet. Oh, I know. You're doing something with your after-school club. I'm right, aren't I? He's acting so friendly even though he doesn't really know me. I think he's just trying to be nice. But he's being a bit too familiar. Maybe he's mistaken me for someone he knows? I think it's so cute that they kind of all just forget who they are for a hot second when they're on. You're like, hey, what's up? And you're like, have we met? And they're like, I'm just being friendly. Okay, bye. And like they kind of forget that you don't know who they are. But maybe he thinks he has to talk to anyone he runs into. I was hesitant to engage in the conversation, but it'd be rude not to respond at all. I was doing some research. I can't talk in the library, so... Oh, I get it now. That's why you're holed up in an empty classroom. And someone's with you? Do I know him? Kamui leaned over to look in the classroom. At the same time, a hand reached out and landed on my shoulder. Oh! I love this CG. Look at his mad face. It's so cute. He is like, back off, she's mine. This is actually like, there is something about this. Putting his hand on my shoulder and then like popping out to Kamui being like, don't even. Mine. Like, so cute. It's kind of adorable and possessive. I'm with her. Huh? Mihaya? Mihaya stood slightly behind me, his hand resting on my shoulder. He then gently drew me back, as if he were hugging me from behind. To say I was surprised would be an understatement. We're busy, so would you mind leaving us alone? Kamui's eyes shot open in surprise, because they know each other, and we know this now. Hey. Didn't see you there, Mihaya. Sorry for getting in the way. I'll go make myself scarce. I thought I'd been taken aback for a moment. Oh, though he'd been taken aback for a moment. Wow, I don't know why I was reading that like me. Anyway, Kamui quickly went back to his jocular self and ambled away. Take care, you two. Be sure to go home before it gets too late. Mihaya? Kamui had already left, but Mihaya wasn't saying anything, so I attempted to fill the silence. Why'd you do that? What? I thought you were helping me. So why would you go off and talk to someone like that? Suddenly I became very aware that his hand was still on my shoulder, which reminded me how close we were. This is kind of fucking adorably ridiculous right now. Stop it. We're like, hey, okay, yeah, we'll help. And then we run into Kamui and we're just talking, and he is just like, you're supposed to be helping me. Why are you talking to somebody else? I wasn't flirting with him, and you're getting jealous, but it's ridiculously adorable. Because that's exactly what is happening. He's like, you're with me. Why are you talking to him? And it's like, I didn't know we were flirting. Aww. Aww, so cute. I could feel heat radiating from his body, and his voice skimmed my ear, much closer than usual. I felt my heart begin to race. He's the one who talked to me. I just responded. So we're just gonna stand like this? I managed to get the words out, and Mihaya gasped before backing away. I'm sorry. I'll go get the books now. My nerves were still going from him doing that so suddenly, so I interrupted him and ran off. Okay, my nerves were still going from him doing that so suddenly, so I interrupted him and ran off. I can read. We know I can't. What do I do? My heart won't stop pounding. I arrived at the library and began perusing the bookshelves, but my heart was still going a mile a minute. He'll probably get worried if I take a long time. Actually, Mihaya and Kamui seem to know each other well. They're in different grades and seem like complete opposites, but maybe they're friends. As I began to calm down, I began to think through the things I hadn't noticed earlier. I also started to worry about the fact that I practically ran away from Mihaya, and so I decided it was time to head back. I looked inside the classroom and saw Mihaya researching intently. Sorry I was gone so long. Took a while to find the books. Our eyes met as I greeted him, and I could tell Mihaya didn't quite know how to act. I didn't think it'd be possible for us to pretend nothing happened, so I decided to ask him directly. I wanted to ask, why'd you do that earlier? You practically hugged me. Well, that's because... Maybe I've been too direct. Mihaya flinched, but continued after a short pause. Spacey's just... When I saw you talking to another guy, I didn't really like it. I love that he's just being honest. He's like, instead of being like, I don't know, and then hiding it. He's just being so direct. Really? Why? Now it was my turn to flinch. I wasn't expecting that answer at all. I don't really know. I guess I've just been wondering why you offered to help me. Mihaya was sulking like a child, and for the first time, he actually seemed younger than me. Because he was like, we're friends, but he's like, she's offering to help me, maybe she like, oh, you don't even know what your feelings are, but you were kind of like, hoping maybe, but you didn't know that you know what I mean? Like, it's just so cute and awkward! That's usually not the case at all. But now I can definitely tell he's younger. It's actually a little cute. I know, right? You don't have to worry. No need to sulk. I would say you don't have to worry. Don't say no need to sulk, because, like, that's almost like, you're so adorable when you're pouty. Yeah, you don't have to worry. That's just the less, like, the less likely answer to irritate him. Don't you worry. I keep my promises. I'm still gonna help you out. I couldn't help but say that, but then suddenly felt shy. Something about his behavior was so childlike, it made me want to comfort him. I feel like you're treating me like a child. Actually, that's probably my fault. Ugh, being so immature. I'm sorry for doing that out of nowhere earlier. I was just a bit surprised. It's alright, no need to worry. My response surprised me, even as I was saying it, but I knew I didn't regret what I'd said. Coming to that realization made me feel flustered, so I quickly changed the subject. I'll start going through the books I borrowed. I got a lot, so I'll have to read fast. Let me see. Mihaya reached out and grabbed the books I'd borrowed, checking each title and copyright page. He got most of the books my parents wrote. Really? Yeah, this is great. I can bring the rest from my room some other time. I'll start with the oldest one and go in chronological order. I appreciate it. I took one of the books back from Mihaya and started reading. It's kind of adorable because he got a little jealous, but he doesn't know why. 1 hour later, time was limited, so I skimmed through a few of the books, which made me realize something. I think you mentioned this previously, but your parents went outside Theta a few times, right? Right. They wrote all these books when they were exploring the outside. All the parts that talk about the buildings they found, what they were originally, and their effect on the environment was fascinating. But maybe I'm misunderstanding something. What about? When you told me about what happened, you said your father believed this was their big chance. At the time, I thought you meant it was their chance to leave Theta again, but if they'd gone out numerous times, that wouldn't be as big a deal. When I asked that question, a light bulb seemed to go off in Mihaya's head. You know, you're right. I know, right? Because it's like they went outside multiple times, so it's like, that's what I thought too. It's our big chance to go outside, and then they were sabotaged because they didn't want them outside. But if they've gone outside before, what was it that they found that the higher-ups or the government or whatever was like, kill them because they know too much now, you know? I usually try to avoid thinking about what happened that day since it's so hard on me. And that's why I never thought that deeply about it. But what exactly was the chance he meant? Can I take a look? I handed the book over and Mihaya started to page through it while referencing some other books at the same time. Look here. The page Mihaya showed me featured some kind of map. My mother and father always put a map on the first page of their books. So this is the area around Theta? That's right. It's in every one of their books, so I just thought it was standard, and didn't pay too much attention to it. But looking closer, I noticed that the newer the publication date, the more updated the map. I compared some of the books and found that more details were indeed added to the map as time went on. You're right, they've added more discoveries over time. What are these red dots? There are more and more of them as time goes on. I was wondering about that. I think they're probably other colonies. Other colonies? I brought up the subject yesterday, but we knew so little about them that we couldn't begin to imagine what they were like. Okay, so we're not inside of a bubble inside of a bubble. We're just in a bubble on a rotten planet. Okay, all right. Well, there goes that. It's just an option, but it's like, you know, but if their parents had already gone out and they were like, these might be where other colonies are, then it's obviously not. Unless we are technically a science experiment still. And it's like humanity went, let's take a bunch of people, put them in the cryogen, okay, stuff them onto colonies on Mars, and then be like, everything was destroyed. But then you wouldn't see those rundown, fucked up buildings that we saw. So that doesn't make sense there. Unless they purposely planted them there. I don't know. There's some kind of conspiracy going on, obviously. Because, like, what are they hiding? What did Mihaya's parents find? And what are people trying to hide that they got too close to, that they got them killed? Because it wasn't just an accident. And is it... I mean, obviously, it's probably tied to the vectors or whatever. But, you know, how deep does it go? You know what I mean? Anyway. What you looking at? Your head almost turned completely around upside down, weirdo. Only the higher-ups know about the other colonies. Regular people need permission to go to them. And there were times when my parents were researching outside Theta and weren't able to make it back in one day. In those instances, they always applied for that permission. I think that's what they did. Mihaya tried to trace his memories as he flipped through the books. See, check out this page. It says the types of trees naturally change the further north one travels. And in this book, there's an additional red dot located in the north of Theta. That has to be a colony they visited during their research. I mean, and that makes sense because types of trees do change depending on where you go. It's difficult to figure out its distance from Theta just from what's here. I imagine the higher-ups would have forbidden anyone from giving the other colonies exact locations, so my parents probably didn't note it anywhere. And that seems weird. You know what I mean? Like, no, you have to have special permission to go. I mean, I can understand because it's like, you don't want people just like popping over to other colonies because like population control and you can't just have people going random places and like, oh my God, now there's 500 people over here and there's not enough room. You know what I mean? Because like scarcity of resources and stuff and what we're creating inside our colony is enough to keep us alive, but you can't have like all of a sudden 3 other colonies pop over for Thanksgiving dinner and you're like, what the fuck? We can't feed all you. You know what I mean? Because they're smaller, you know, and it's not a global resource pool anymore. But it is interesting that it's like, don't let anyone know. You know, I mean, I can understand, again, the special permission to go, because, like, hey, we have people who want to visit your colony. Oh, okay, cool, yeah, you gotta, you know, work with that amongst the colonies and everything. So, okay, fine, sure, I could buy that, but, like, and his parents researching outside, And then they obviously didn't care too much that they researched, and they would give them special permission to go. And maybe it's like because they're but then it's like you can't tell the people that it's 2 miles to the next colony or a 3-day walk. You know what I mean? So that's like, that's fucking weird. Why? Why would that be forbidden knowledge? You know? And almost like, why would it be forbidden knowledge to just like tell people about other colonies? Like, you know, there's other colonies, but we don't talk about it. You know, the air outside and everything is up. We don't really talk about it. But yet you let researchers go out and journalists go out there and poke around and publish findings, but you don't tell anyone about, like, it's really weird. It's a little odd, is all I'm saying. So, There's also zero explanation about what the red dots mean. I think the maps are more a record for themselves rather than to inform the reader, or they would understand them. Oh, only they would understand them. Yeah, I see. But even though they took care to hide that information, they had a hard time getting permission to go to the other colonies? That's the issue. From what I remember, there were a few times when my father told my mother that it didn't work out. I didn't know what he meant at the time, but maybe... A familiar alarm rang out right when Mahaya was about to convey his suspicions. It's okay. It's okay, it's just a TV, buddy. Vectors! It looks like it. We'll have to stop for now and get over to the command center. I thought we were on the verge of a breakthrough. It was obvious from Mihaya's tone that he was disappointed as well. I wanted to know what he was about to say, but we had to hurry to the command center. He's okay. He's okay. There you go, you're fine. Because my TV volume is on. Not super loud, but that came across super fucking loud. And my bird's over here like, the fuck is that? It's okay. It's like when you watch, if I'm watching TV and a doorbell rings on the TV, my bird freaks the fuck out because the doorbell scares him. So like, you okay? You're alright. It was just on the TVs. He's not a real alarm. Don't worry. He's okay. There's no vectors in here. No monsters are going to get you. You're okay. Alright, good boy. Yeah, you're okay now. You were just like, that's a weird noise. I don't like it. I don't blame you. It's a scary noise. You know the higher-ups are going to gripe about the effectiveness of the patrols now. The commander complained to us once we'd all gathered, prompting Mocha to respond. The 2 people involved don't even have powers. They can't expect us to make much progress with you 2 dragging us down. Maybe tone it down? Those were some harsh words, but considering what Mihaya said about not trusting the commander, I couldn't do much to stop him from saying that. No, I apologize for my ineptitude. The commander, on the other hand, didn't seem to be bothered and took Mocha's comment in stride. Even if the Vectors find a way in, we just need to take them down. That was the mission in the first place. You know we can do that part. Mocha's right. So should we just head out to the financial district? Yeah, the evacuation's already complete. Rio responded for the commander, and we all hustled out of the room. I mean, we know that he's kind of on the side of the bad guys. Again, might be a double agent. Might actually be a good guy pretending to be a bad guy who's pretending to be a good guy, or just a bad guy pretending to be a good guy. Don't know. But if he's even whichever way, we know he's working for the bad guys on some level, right? So he's obviously helping them get in. Other people could all, like, some of the other characters could be helping them get in, but, like, I mean, he prime suspect right here. You know what I'm saying? Opening up the gates. Plus also, I mean, because even though, yes, we're patrolling that, we can't be like, oh, Rio was always in charge of that area and that's where they got in. Because that's too obvious. And, like, so that's why we went around one area, he went. And then you go different area. We're not always patrolling the exact same area. You know what I mean? You would have different people doing different areas. So, like, I'm patrolling area A with Rio one day, and then the next time we were going by B, but then Mocha and Haruka are by A on Thursday or something. You know what I mean? So it's not always like, Rio's always checking this one area. Because eventually it would come to light that that's where they're getting in, and you would know he was full of shit. You know what I mean? So, but doesn't mean that there's not a secret other way that they're getting in that only he knows. You know what I mean? Anyway. Rio responded for the commander, and we all hustled out of the room. I think I read that out, or maybe not, I don't know. Everyone's evacuated, just like Rio said. Good. That means we can really go all out. Luke and I nodded to each other. It was a relief to see the empty town. I was just talking to Mihaya before, so this is really weird. Gotta remember that she's Mocha during the mission. A menacing growl cut through my thoughts as I was trying to hone my focus. They're coming. Hold on. There are a great deal of them. 20. No, about 30 in total. Sana cast Foresight the minute she'd heard the Vector snarls and told us how many there were. I see. It looks like we'll have to switch up our tactics. Mocha, can you fight in front today? You can count on me. I sensed that Kaori had a particular plan in mind and immediately volunteered as well. I'll fight on the front lines too. Things might get dicey otherwise. I shall go as well. Well, thanks. I still have to figure out who's doing what. I'll use flame dust. Now's not the time to hold back. Then I'll pick up the strongest one and cast sap. Everyone jumped in to suggest the best way to utilize their powers. I said that I would cast Augment on somebody, attack directly. I feel like I should cast Augment, like enhance their powers, right? Unless, okay, wait. Cast Augment is generally like the good, safe choice, but as we've known so far from the Mihaya answers, they're always the opposite of what we think. So maybe the Mihaya answer is attack directly, because like, yeah, go in there and kick some ass. No, this time it's actually cast Augment, like I initially thought. Well, maybe now... Well, that's just an answer for the good guys. Maybe now Mihaya's like, protect yourself because I love you. Anyway. If everyone's going all out, I'll use Augment. Kaori immediately nodded in agreement. Good idea. All right, gather up, everyone. I'm going to cast it now. Everyone circled up at Kaori's instruction. We all clasped hands and I cast Augment. That should have gone out to everyone. And I shall use Foresight as I fight and monitor the battle. Sounds good. Sana was the last to lay out her plans before we heard the sound of the Vectors drawing nearer. They're here! As Sana predicted, a large horde was coming toward us. We readied ourselves. Let's go! Got it! Here I come! Kaori's fist surged with psychokinesis as she smashed it into a Vector's stomach. She leapt over the fallen enemy, then used hypnosis to restrict the movements of a few more foes, punching them one by one. Haruka, 2 are on your right. All right, flame dust. Sana called out directions to Haruka, who immediately turned and cast flame dust. Mocha, one's coming your way. And just leave it to me. Ah! I teamed up with Mocha to confuse the incoming Vectors, striking when I could. We worked well together and took down a good deal of them in quick succession. It was a relief to see I was fighting much better than I'd expected. I think it was a good idea to talk with Mihaya about everything. It's really helped me to know that he's shouldering the same kind of pain I am. I became lost in my thoughts for a brief moment, but Haruka's voice brought me back to reality. Some of them are running away. They're gonna cut through the residential district to get to the administrative district. I'm going after them. Mocha immediately sprang into action when she heard Sana's prediction. Come with me. All right. I nodded at Mocha and we chased after the Vectors. How many more we got? 3! We managed to take down 2 Vectors in the residential district, but lost the other 3. There wasn't a single person around because of the alarms, but we couldn't allow them to run amok in Theta anymore. We have to stop them now. I'll use sap one more time. Mocha spoke a little more like Mihaya now that it was just the 2 of us. And before I do, could you cast Augment on me? I'll need my strength to finish this. Okay, give me your hand, Mocha. I grasped Mocha's hand and cast Augment once more before she took off toward the last Vector. I better go and help. Mocha's sap ability required her to touch the Vectors, so I ran in front of one to distract it. Come and get me! Ha! I drew the Vector's attention while dodging its attacks. Once out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mocha tap its back. Alright, I've cast it. That's what you get for letting your guard down. Mocha Mocha tossed the Vector like a rag doll, and I was once again in awe of her power. She'd taken all of the Vector's strength. Mocha, there's more behind you! I got it. Take that! Wow. She took it down with a single kick. Oh, it's rain. Okay, I'm like, what the hell's that noise? I'll take care of the last one, too. Go for it! You go, girl! You go, girlfriend. We can kiss later. That was the last one, Mocha. Hey, Mocha? After we finished the fight, I looked over at Mocha and realized something was wrong. What's the matter? Are you hurt? Oh, no. Are we going to find out that, like, using her ability causes her to forget shit, too? I rushed over to her, but Mocha just shook her head and covered her face with her hands. I'm not hurt, but something weird's happening to me. I feel like because, like, Seina's power uses foresight, like using your mind to see the future, that makes sense. But I feel like for Mocha, it should be like you're just physically, like, 10 times weaker or something because, you know what I mean? Like, you're sucking strength out of people, so the negative effect would be like, oh my god, now your body's, like, limp and weak and you can't walk anymore temporarily. Or so, you know what I mean? Like, it should be a physical thing and not, like, physically losing your memories. Because it wouldn't make sense if they all got amnesia from using their powers. Like, their side effects should be different. What do you mean by weird? I peered closer at Mocha's face and noticed her cheek was red through her fingers. Maybe it was lingering excitement from battle. My sap ability is still active, but it's different than normal. Do you think Augment made you feel ill? That's never happened before. It's not that. Just come with me. I still felt concerned as Mocha took my hand to lead me somewhere. Huh? I thought you weren't able to come near here. She had brought me near the gate where she'd attempted to overcome her trauma before. I knew it. I don't feel any pain. Oh, interesting. You get so strong you can't feel pain? I mean, you think that sounds good until, like, you know, it becomes a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, it'll eventually turn into a bad thing. Really? But why? She'd been here before as Mocha, so it didn't have anything to do with being transformed. As I pondered this, Mocha praised me of her theory. Prized me of her theory. Well, this is just a guess. But it could be because the effects of sap are still active. The Vectors can live outside Theta, and they probably don't feel fear or regret. And thanks to you, my sap ability was boosted, which means I probably took on more of the Vector's characteristics. Ah, okay, so yes, okay. As Mocha moved closer to the gate, I squeezed her hand tighter and said, don't force yourself. What an amazing discovery. Let's try going outside. I'd say don't force yourself. I still said, because that's still thinking about Mihaya/Mocha. You know what I mean? Ooh, save file too. Okay.
Sorry, bird. I need to take my hand back.
You need to go all the way down here. There we go. Okay, so the right answer is don't force yourself. Good for me. Even so, don't force yourself. And don't tell me you're going to try to leave Theta right now. It felt like Mocha might simply take off to someplace far away. She turned to me silently when I asked her about it. I know I can't do that. Besides, I need permission to go through this gate. But I admit, if you hadn't stopped me, I might have gone too far. Let me just try and calm down for a minute. Mocha took a few deep breaths. Once I saw that she was calmer, I asked her another question. How long does your sap ability stay active? Well, I've never fought for hours on end, so I don't know exactly. But based on how it feels, I'd say a little less than an hour. With Augment, it might last a bit longer. I don't like that I can use it to overcome my trauma. I despise my ability. I told you that before, right? But now it's the thing that's going to help with this? Ironic doesn't even begin to cover it. Though we calmed down, Mihaya looked agonized. I like how in this one she keeps, like, switching back and forth, calling Mocha Mihaya and then Mocha. Like, right? But, like, in Kamui's route, for the most part, it was always Seina, and, like, she'd think about Kamui, but she wouldn't be, like, looking at Seina and being like, I looked at Kamui and I saw in his eye. You know what I mean? Like, she always referred to Seina as she. It's kind of interesting that she's, like, you know, Like, she'd still, like, I think, had conversations in her head about, like, Kamui because they're the same person, but she always said, like, I looked at Sana, but she would have said, like, though she calmed down, Mocha looked agonized. Like, she would have said it like that. Like, so it's just kind of interesting, like, that she's kind of, like, seeing Mocha more as Mihaya, you know? Mihaya... I spoke to him as Mihaya rather than Mocha. Right when I said his name, we heard footsteps in the distance. Are you two alright? It's Sana. They must have finished the fight on their side. Let's go. Alright. But to be fair, we may have also figured out Mihaya was Mocha earlier than we figured out Kamui was Sana, you know? After wrapping up the mission, we swung by the classroom to pick up our belongings. Mihaya held it together as Mocha until the mission ended, but now he was silent as he walked in front of me. I'm sure he's thinking about whether to use his sap ability or not. I decided it was better to stay quiet until Mihaya wanted to talk, but then all of a sudden he stopped tracks and turned in front of me. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, Spacey, when you said that about my parents, it made me think of something. I remembered that he'd seemed to figure something out right before the alarm went off. I leaned forward excitedly. So you've worked out what your father meant when he said it was their big chance? I think so. I believe he was talking about receiving permission to visit a certain colony. You mentioned that there were times he couldn't get it. That's right. As you pointed out, visiting other colonies isn't allowed all that often. And if he finally got permission one day, and it was for a colony he'd been trying to visit for a long time, then they were like, yeah, no, you can visit that colony. Kill them because they can't actually visit the other colonies. I mean, but then why? You know what I mean? Why? Wouldn't what he said make sense? I felt like that had to be it. There was something significant about the way he said it. Like it was something he'd been barred from doing previously. So it would make sense if he was referring to a colony he couldn't visit before. I'm so glad we figured it out. I feel confident about this because you think so too, Spacey. Despite what he said, Mihaya didn't look very pleased. But then that means you can't achieve your goal unless you leave Theta and go to that other colony. It seems that way. I think the last job my parents tried to undertake was near that colony. Or perhaps it was related to the colony itself. If that's the case, I have to go there, so that I continue to follow in their footsteps. I could see the last place they saw again. And I want to find what they were looking for. I had an idea of what he'd say next. It was obvious what was plaguing him, even if he didn't say it out loud. There's no need to rush to any conclusions. You're tired from the mission, too. We should just go back and rest. I said that out of concern for him. Mihaya looked down with a sigh. I'm well aware using sap is the best way to achieve my goal. If I can't do that, I should just look for another route and not be so fixated on following in my parents' footsteps. But I'll think on it a little more. Like you said, I'm tired and not thinking straight. Yeah. We didn't talk much after that. We retrieved our things from the classroom and then returned to our dorms. I couldn't stop thinking about Mihaya even after we parted ways. I guess it makes sense since I'd been with him from when school ended until now, including when he was Mocha. The more time I spent with Mihaya, the more I realized how similar we were. We both experienced someone we loved dying before our eyes, and we both felt tremendous guilt over it. Okay, hold on a second. Something I forgot. When I was watching the theme song, like because I liked the theme song when I was watching it earlier, and like watching the little movie thing that goes with it, there is like a part, right, where they show like her computer screen, a whole email thing or whatever, and there's like a character kind of shadowed in there that we have yet to meet or see, so it's obviously like a side character. And just the kind of the sinister look on their face, I'm assuming when we meet the bad guys. So it's like a side character in the bad guy route. Okay? Or it just goes so fast because they've got like white hair. Okay? And then I was like, wait a minute. The way it's kind of superimposed with her like computer screen and email, I'm like, wait, is that Uncle Yashima? Like, and he works for the bad guys. Maybe? Because, like, it's just, it goes by so fast. But, like, they kind of just have this, like, kind of sinister look on their face. Like, yeah, okay. Like, so you're like, ooh, they're one of the bad guys. And you're like, but just how it's with her computer thing is, like, the only... I don't know if they were doing that to, like, ooh, super sneaky, give you a secret thing. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, interesting. So if that character ever pops up, I'll point it out and be like, that one! But I doubt we're gonna see it unless we go down the routes of one of, like, the bad boyfriends. You know what I mean? But I just thought it was interesting, because it's not a character we've seen before. You know? But we have the commander right here. But you figure the bad guys probably have their own commander, and maybe it's their commander, and, like, I don't know, I was just like, wait. I don't know, it was sus. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out, because it made me curious. So, anyway. We'll have to face our issues head on if we want to work through our trauma. I can imagine how Mihaya feels right now. I mean, if someone told me that killing lots of vectors would make up for what I did to Lizzie, I'm not sure I'd be able to do it. I had to take Lizzie's life to save her, so it would make some sense to view the vectors in the same way. A person might say that saving vectors like that would help rid me of my guilt. But even so, I couldn't imagine myself purposely going out to kill them. I can face them if lives are at stake, but I don't think I'll ever be able to fight like I used to. And because of that, I don't have any room to tell Mihaya what to do. I can't even overcome my own trauma, so there's no way I can force Mihaya to do it. Of course he'd be reluctant to use his ability, since it was directly connected to his parents' death. But now, those same powers were looking like a solution to his present issues. He was pulled between the desire to overcome his trauma and his hatred for the method that would help him. And I can't just tell him to do it or not do it. In the end, I realized this was something Mihaya had to decide for himself. Just as I'd come to the conclusion that fighting vectors wouldn't help me with my own trauma, Mihaya had to decide what was best for himself. Then what I can do is help Mihaya draw his own conclusions. What you doing, buddy? The next day, the commander called us together again and informed us that the higher-ups wanted to increase the number of patrols. They were displeased the vectors had shown up yesterday and ordered that we start patrolling as a group immediately. My word, are we to be on missions every hour of the day? It's not our fault the vectors have appeared in the first place. As expected, everyone began voicing their frustrations when we heard the order. It's funny because when we're not in Kamui's route, I can read Sena as if she is speaking properly like that. I can do it, but it's like when we're in Kamui's route, I can't do it. Like, I can disassociate Sena from Kamui when we're not in the route with them, you know what I mean? There's no point in complaining. It's already been decided. Can you blame us, though? You're with me on this, right? Huh? Me? Well, I do agree it'll be tough for all of us to patrol every day, but I guess it's the same for the commander and Rio, too. And they're not the ones who gotta fight. Jeez, you're a bit too easygoing, you know that? Mocha's tone was a mixture of shock and worried, but I didn't feel put out by the extra patrolling. This actually works out perfectly. Though we'd all be patrolling together, we decided to keep our pairs the same, which meant I'd be with Rio again. Last night I contemplated what I could do before going to bed. I'd resolved to try and gather as much information about the outside as I could. That's why the patrol wasn't an issue for me. I'd use it as an opportunity to talk with Rio again, since I'd rarely ever got to. Let's get a move on, Rio! What's got you so excited? Not you. I mean, although you're kind of handsome right now. But, like, the commander's hotter. I gotta go with one of the grown-ups. My sudden burst of motivation caught Rio, not to mention everyone else, by surprise. Well, it's unfortunate because he's wearing a suit and he's got glasses, but the commander's just so dumbassy adorable, you know? But Tokyo also wears glasses, and you cannot beat that motherfucker, so. It's just, we've been patrolling every day, yet the Vectors still found a way in. It's embarrassing. So I'm hoping we can find evidence of where they're coming in from. I see. What I said was partially true, and Rio seemed convinced enough. No one else seemed to suspect anything either, so I started to leave before anyone pressed the matter further. We're heading out. Good luck, everyone! I guess it's good you're enthusiastic. And just don't overdo it. I know it's a drag, but you should check in regularly. And where's your calm? Got it right here. Thanks, Mocha. I thanked her, then headed out of the room with Rio. Look at how shocked. She's like, you said thank you and I'm in love with you. How adorable. Well, anyway, rat time. So I'm going to wrap this part up here, and we'll continue patrolling with future way too old for us boyfriend later. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.